Thank you for joining me in my craft room today for this two-part project. Please subscribe.
Okay, for this project, we're going to start with a piece of wood. I got this at the Dollar Tree, and then I gave it actually several coats of a white spray paint. And one thing that's interesting with this unfinished wood is that as you spray it, it will actually raise up the grain in the wood. And so you're going to need to spray it, let it dry, do some sanding if you want a smooth surface. And I did, so I was pretty diligent about sanding and spraying. And then what I did is, because sometimes the paint sprays over to the edge just a little bit, I just took my sandpaper and just sanded all the way around the edge to bring back that wood grain. So just so it looked neat and tidy, and I just didn't have a I guess you'd call it a fuzzy edge. So there we go. Now I'm going to use this board to help me make my tassel. So I have some yarn, and it's kind of cheap yarn, and that's what I wanted because it has almost the feeling of string. And so I wanted yarn like that would be, you know, not thick, not fuzzy, not fancy, just kind of like string, very much like what you would get if you were buying a tassel. So I'm going to use this same board that I'm going to be putting a saying on, and I'm using that to make my tassel because that kind of gives me a size that is relative to the board I'm using for my sign. So I'm going to go around there, probably 25 to 30 times, or until I feel like it's looking as thick as I would like it. And then I am going to go ahead and trim that. Actually, I want to stop on the same end where I started so the tassels hang down the same direction. And then I'm just going to slide that string off and keep a hold of that top area right up there. Now I'm going to quickly make a slip knot and give it a big loop so I can easily work with it. I'll fit this through, and I want to bring it down about an inch from the top and just let that. I'll pull through. If any of them have gotten bunched in a funny way, I'll do that. And then I'm going to tighten that up. And I don't want to break the yarn, and it is pretty cheap yarn, so I'm going to be careful about that. And then I'm going to go around one direction, and then I'm going to go around the opposite direction, so that when these two ends meet, they're going opposite directions, and I can just go ahead and tie them off. There. And I want to just do a good square knot or a granny knot, whatever you want. All of a sudden I feel like we have a lesson on knots today. Okay, and then I'm just going to let those ends just hang down into my tassel, okay? Kind of keep that top straightened up, and then I'll come back through with my scissors and just slip into those loops and trim those up. And then I have a tassel. Just make sure I've got all those loops cut through. There. And I do like that because it looks more like string. And I'm liking that. Now, this other end, I'm going to, of course, put through a cord, through a cord and some beads to make that look pretty. But I want two tassels, so I'm going to go ahead and make the second one, and I'll be right back with you. charm here because you'll see why this applies once we get the saying on our board. But it's, you know, it's the time of the year for charms, lucky charms, and so I'm just adding a charm to the tassel here. And I'm just going to do it on that one side. I could do it on both sides, but I just, because probably just one side is going to show once I put it up for display. And it's just a little charm that says bloom. I don't know if you can see that, but I thought that would be nice for springtime and with St. Patrick's Day, and we're all just so tired of the winter by then and we just want spring to come. So one other suggestion, if you don't have charms, is buttons, that you could go ahead and just put the buttons through the strings and just have a button on the top of your tassel. So that those are just a couple of ideas. All right, so now let's get a beaded chain done, and we'll get that all put together. I'm going to go ahead and use just a very thin ribbon. It's green, so it kind of, you know, matches that whole St. Patrick's Day vibe. And I'm just going to put just some tape on the end because it just makes it easier to thread beads on. And I'm going to just keep it on this roll, and that'll kind of stop the beads at the end. So I'm just going to figure out a pattern, and I'm going to start with a light colored bead and a brown bead, and that's and a light, and that's how I'm going to start my pattern. And then I'm going to mix, and then I'm going to go ahead and mix green beads through there so they pick up that green color. I have these in my little basket that I showed you how to make in one of my faux leather crafts, so look for that. And I think it's 3 faux leather crafts. I don't remember. There are so many I don't remember. So then I will just go ahead and start stringing on the beads in a pattern, and then we'll come back. As I'm finishing this up, I was just a couple of days ago in a very high-end decoration shop, and I saw these wood beaded tassels all over the place. I think they're very popular right now. And luckily, mine came out just right. I have one bead left and was able to maintain my pattern. And so now I'm going to go ahead and snip off that taped end because it's not very pretty. And just to note, sometimes these wood beads, they're not completely punched out in there, and so you kind of have to work to get the bead through, and that's okay. So let's go ahead and slip this through our tassel. So I'm just going to use this is actually the Cricut scoring tool, and I'm just gonna, or you could use a pencil or a pen. I'm just gonna slip that through there so that I can open up that those tassels. And then let's just slip it through. Okay. And I'm going to tie that off at the top of the tassel. And I'm not too worried that we have a couple of different colors of green. We've got a couple of colors in our sign, and I just feel like that'll probably be okay. There. Now what I'm going to do is slide these first beads down and thread them through so that that loose end right here, so that loose end also goes in through the bead. Now I might actually have to use a weeding tool to help slip it in through there. There we go. Use a different weeding tool. Okay. And that way we just don't have a loose string hanging there and, you know, we're not sure what to do with it. Just gets it out of the way. And I'll just pull it up through as many beads as we need to do to get it out of sight. So it looks like I had mine long enough that it needs to go up through 4 beads. There, and then it's completely out of sight. Slide all the beads down. So that end is nice and tight. So I've got my charm on my tassel. I'm going to actually move that charm around a little bit so it's hanging on the front of the tassel and not on the side like that. So I want it to hang down the front. So there we go. We've got that end, and then I'm actually going to do the other end in a very similar way. Slide it through. And then I'm going to come down as tight as I can around that last bead, making sure all of these beads are nice and close together. They don't have to be, you know, stiffly close. You want it to bend, but that tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie this around the ribbon itself. I'm going to go back and tie it on itself and tighten it up as best I can, keeping the beads the right distance apart. And then I'm going to do the very same thing and feed that loose end through each bead so it's hidden and more secure. One other thing you can do is, once you get it through several beads, is just to put a little drop of glue, if you want, in the end of the tassel here or next to the last bead where you've threaded this through. And I've got a frayed end, so I'm just going to clip that off so it's clean and then just get it in through that last bead. There we go. And it just disappears in there. So there we go. Now we have our beaded tassel with the charm, and there we go. And actually, because I had beads on hand and a charm, I did need to buy I had to buy the yarn, but even if I had to buy the beads, this still would probably end up being less expensive than the ones that I saw in that fancy decorating shop. And so go ahead and give that a try. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our board and getting that done. And then I'll show you how we are displaying this project. We have a saying that's going on this board, and I have cut it out. I have used just scraps for this whole project, and I have talked a few times about why I don't like dollar store vinyl, and I'm going to see if this comes out okay, because since it's a smaller project, I thought I'd give it a try and maybe get it used up. The thing is, the base cuts really easily. It's a real thin base, this paper base. Now, if you want to preserve vinyl, you could come in and cut out this spot. I left the space there as my guide for when I come back in. That actually weeded pretty well. When I come back in, I have other words that I'm putting in here, actually a other word and some embellishments. So I wanted to give myself that space as a guide for what I'm planning on doing. So this actually is weeding pretty well. We did another project with this vinyl that was much larger, and it just was, it cut through the paper. It just had a lot of problems, but that actually weeded very well. So if you're doing a small project, you're probably okay with the dollar store vinyl. Okay, so I've been trying out this brand, and I've actually liked it. I was calling it Sizer. I've heard other people call it Caesar. So I don't know which one's right. Maybe if you know, comment in the comment section, because I don't know. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. I really love that it has these grids, very easy to see. Okay, so we're going to use that to get this transferred. And hopefully I can use this same piece to transfer all of my my words and everything for this sign. Okay. I like to push down both sides just so I can really have that adhere to the transfer tape. Wow, and that is coming up super, super easy. And you can see that with this dollar store vinyl, it kind of cuts through. And I put that on the setting that just said vinyl. So it's, you know, just normal vinyl, nothing special vinyl. And so that's how that came out. Here we go. Let's get this lined up. Okay, let's see. I think I'll just set it down lightly. Check it. Okay, I think that looks okay. Okay, now let's pull that up. Oh. Okay, here's where we might be getting into more trouble with that cheaper vinyl. It just maybe doesn't have as much adhesive as other vinyls. So we might have to just work harder to get that to stay down. Real careful. I'm going to try pulling this off at an angle and hope that helps. Okay. Yeah, we have a fail. Okay, here's the issue. That dollar store vinyl, I just couldn't get it to scrape down. I just couldn't get it to hold down. So I had to scrape so much that I think it adhered my transfer tape too much to the tape, to the paint, and took my paint off. So there is another reason why I am not liking that dollar store vinyl, darn it. And so what I'm going to have to do is come back. I don't think my letters will cover that up. Well, we can try, but I think I'm going to have to redo, take my letters off, maybe reprint, paint for sure, and reprint. We'll see. But you know, I'm going to show you my fails as well as my successes, because I feel like we all learn when I do that. And crafting is no different from other things where you learn and you become more skilled and you get maybe a little bit of muscle memory. So those are all things to keep in mind. I'm going to see, once I get this weed, see how easily this weeds. I mean, honestly, when you compare a better quality, I think I'm going to just trim this up so I can see exactly how that's going to come out. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to cover that error, that problem with what I've got here. So what I'm going to do is revisit this. I'm going to fix this area. I'll do that and I'll get back with you. It'll be a while for me, a short time for you. Okay, we're back. I did some repair on that and did some sanding, and I did it without removing the letters. So I'm hoping that that actually is going to be okay. I don't know if you can see it, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and hope for the best. I'm going to use a different transfer tape, because I really want to see this work. Now, generally when I do transfer tape on a painted surface, I generally use my transfer tape that is, it's like masking tape, transfer tape. Generally, that's what I use, but I've been, trying all these other ones in hopes of finding other things I like about other transfer tapes. And I really do like this one. This is one I got through Amazon that I had heard several people mention in videos. Okay, I think that looks like it's going to be fine, and I'm just hoping it does not pull up that that paint anymore. Because, sometimes you have to start over. I'm hoping this is not one of those times. See, here's what's interesting. I barely had to push that down. Oops, wanted to say that. I really barely had to push that down to get it to stick. And that dollar store vinyl, oh, I rubbed it, and it would not stick. So there's another thing. Now, I have this other little embellishment to add. It's actually just a little shamrock. And you see, I've used just scraps of vinyl for all of this. I'm not going to worry about transfer tape with this because it's kind of like a sticker. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it off and treat it like a sticker. And I'm going to put that right in there. Okay. So there we are, all finished, and it turned out okay. My error got fixed and everything is fine. And so there it is. You're my lucky charm. And that, of course, is going to be displayed with my homemade beaded tassels. And so I hope you liked that project. Don't forget that you can go into my Facebook group, which is called Coming Home. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can get a free download of my St. Patrick's Day booklet. It's just got all kinds of interesting things, sayings, ideas, food, symbols, ideas of movies to watch together as a family, and you can get that free at Coming Home. And watch for that link below. And so I hope you like this idea, and I hope you'll join me again, and I hope you'll subscribe, because I have some more videos coming out, some ideas for spring, upcoming holidays, and just some fun things to help around the house with organization, and some fun things for kids. And so subscribe and watch for more to come.